Namaste. Welcome to our 83rd talk on the Bhagavad Gita. I hope I remember what it is. This is called The Yoga of Liberation by Renunciation. Renunciation meaning mostly the interior disposition, but also certain external things. After all, you and I have got to give up what harms us. We often have to give up, frankly, associations that harm us, identities that harm us, whatever harms us. The wise person turns away from him. So, Arjuna says, I desire to know separately the essential nature of sannyasa and tyaga. Now, it's right that he says he wants to know them separately because they are so alike and so close to each other, and actually in a way united. They really go together. That it could be easy to mistake one of them for the other, or one of them as being the whole picture. So he wants to know separately their essential nature, what they really are, rock bottom, of sannyasa and tyaga. Sannyasa means casting aside. Tyaga means a withdrawing from and a kind of standing back from. So they both are in a way a getting rid of something. But one is by picking it up and saying, off with you. And the other is just by, okay, I'm not going to touch that. Separation is, of course, the character of both of them. One by will and one by attitude. But all actions have to come from an inner disposition and hopefully from some kind of purpose. Though in childhood, very frequently, there was a, what did you do that for? And the child says, I don't know. And they don't know. Because there was a kind of impulse and they did it. There was no thought about it because, well, they were children. Their minds were undeveloped. And it's terrible to persecute children like this and demand that they see things or have thought of things as you, an adult, would. All right. And Krishna then says, Sri Bhagavan, because he is the holy God manifesting on earth. Uvacha, he said, he spoke out. The renunciation of actions arising from desire, the sages understand as sannyasa. This is what is cast aside. Now, you see me wearing, rather faded, but nevertheless, garwa, the sign of the sannyasi. Well, what is a sannyasi? One who lives in a state of sannyasa, whose way of life is sannyasa. Putting aside, there are certain aspects in this world and the life of this world that you do like throw aside, like get that away from me. And then there are other things that, because they could impede, especially through our own attachment and desires, we also put them aside. We're more gentle in that, but the result's the same. They're over there. They're not here with me. So that is sannyasa. The abandonment of the fruits of all action, the wise declare to be tyaga. In other words, I have to act, I will live in this world, but I don't want the effects. I think I mentioned way long past about a very, ferocious Zen practicer who was given a small little hut to live in and practice his meditation. And on the wall there was a paper print of Amida Buddha, the compassion, the great, the Savior Buddha, and that we mustn't get sidetracked in. But it's sort of like the path of devotion, although discipline is really there, as compared with just pure meditation, pushing aside all ideas except that of enlightenment. That's a kind of both Tyaga and Sannyasa. And so the monk saw there was the picture of Amida, and so he wrote on it. I have no idea why, rather than just say it. Amida is everywhere. But anyway, he wrote, respected Amida, there is room enough in this hut for both of us, but don't think I'm going to your paradise. Because in Amida Buddhism, the idea is that there is a glorious place called the Sukhavati, the Pure Land, that Amida has created for people to come to, and there great Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will instruct them and help them in attaining enlightenment. In other words, there is no delusion in that world. The holy purpose of the world is to cultivate your consciousness and attain enlightenment. I hardly see anything objectionable in that world, but since it's beautiful and it's sukha, it's a place of happiness, perhaps the monk felt that it was could be a distraction. Okay, so having gone through all that, but okay, it's the fruits of action in the sense of egoic action, because meditation is an act. Aspiration for higher consciousness is an act. But anyway, the turning away of all the unright stuff is Tyaga. Some men of wisdom declare that all action should be abandoned as, I've had to put the word evil. The word's dosha. Dosha is a fault, but it's a serious fault. It's a fault, it's a defect, and it's a detriment. It's something that is detrimental to the individual. So all action should be considered as with a dosha. And this means, of course, an action that is a lot of religious or pious or even philosophical busy work, because you eat, it's an action. Do you ever hear of any great renunciate who refused to eat, refused to sleep, refused to go to the toilet? So thinking is an action. So nobody can quit action. The idea is idiotic. But you can separate yourself in your intention, in your consciousness, and act in such a way that it doesn't make any mark in your samskara and creates no karma. That, of course, has been covered way back. While others declare that sacrifice, gift, and tapasya should not be abandoned. Here for me the conclusion regarding Tyaga. Tyaga has been designated to be of three kinds. Acts of sacrifice, again, think of that in a broad manner. Gift, charity, and tapasya should not be abandoned. Never. This is why wherever you find genuine monasticism, you find benevolence, and you find things being done to benefit other people. You find there, in especially some countries in Christian monasteries, where like they give free clothing and free food and even money to poor people every day because we're never separated from them. So you don't say, oh, they're out there and I'm in here so pious. No true monk does, a phony does. But you realize I have a duty to them also. This is a very great importance for the yogi. Now, you don't go out and get involved in all kinds of community programs and all kinds of things that demand a lot of super attention, a lot of action. But you do think, okay, in the context of my sadhana, what is the good I can do? Sometimes it's donating books of wisdom to libraries, for example. Writing them is one of my attempts. So, acts of sacrifice, gift, and tapasya should not be abandoned, but should be done. Sacrifice, gift, and tapasya are purifiers of the wise. In other words, when they're done with the right purpose, when they're done with the right understanding and the intention, they purify us. And that's like, say, cleaning a really, really dirty window. In other words, the light can't come through. It can become so dirty you can't even see through it. And so you clean the window and then light comes in, and then also the ability to see what is outside. Perception becomes possible, and wisdom then becomes possible. So these things are done when they're done right, rather than bind us, they purify them. All right. However, these works should indeed be performed, abandoning attachment and the fruits. Well, it's been said, but it's always good to hear it again. Such is my highest and certain conviction. In other words, this isn't just a junior thing I'm telling you, and later on I'll come up and let you know the big and the great stuff. Nope, this is the top of this subject and this area of life. But renunciation of obligatory action, for example, showing mercy, showing kindness. A lot of people try to get out of things by saying, "Oh, I'm a sadhu," and sadhus don't do that. I have mentioned the woman that saw a man lying on a bridge where traffic was going back and forth, ill, and so she went to drag him to the side, but she was not a very big person, and he was big and heavy, and she couldn't do it. And there were two sadhus sitting like monkeys on the side railing of the bridge, and she said, "Please help me bring this man to safety." And they said, "Oh, we're sadhus. We don't do that kind of thing." Well, they weren't sadhus. They were fools, and they were bad fools. It's evil to see someone suffer and that you could help and you do nothing. But this happens. So this is wrong to do. A lot of people want to get rid of their obligations. So they say, "Oh, I've become a yogi. I've become so spiritual. Oh, my wife seems so tamasic to me now. Oh, the children make such noise. I couldn't even meditate. And I don't know, maybe I ought to go up to an ashram." No, you need to get good sense and straighten up and see there's something really wrong with you. Oh, how naughty. That's judgmental. All right, abandonment of these from delusion is declared to be tamasic. It's not just a simple mistake. Tamas, it means darkness. So it means it is dark. It's an act of darkness, and evil is darkness. So it's an evil thing to do. And I've heard of many people, especially you find it in India. What it just means, they don't want to have to face or put up the effort And so they say, oh, I'm going to renounce it all. Or Sri Ramakrishna said, a man's wife dies, he's fired from his job because he's no good at it. And he says, I'm going to renounce the world. When his Sri Ramakrishna says, the world's already renounced him. So when action is done because it is a duty, in other words, that's the thing you really need to do. Sometimes it's something that's in total harmony with your own being. And therefore, if you want to release your inner life and live as you really are, then you do those actions. Discipline, always that. Always. Not overdoing it, not underdoing it, doing it and holding yourself to doing and doing it steadily. In other words, being in control of it. Having abandoned attachment and the fruit as well. In other words, there are some people, they sort of grovel in being attached, in being obsessed, and being continually intent on something. There are people who say, oh, I couldn't live without a good movie or without a good book. Of course, they don't really mean it. But there is a condition of being so addicted, you think you can't get along without certain things. So their attachment should be abandoned to everything, good or bad, as far as the fruits go of it. That renunciation is considered sattvic. It's got to be intelligent. You know, Yogananda said, stupid people don't find God. Well, that's not just talking about intellect. He didn't mean you got to be a genius. It helps. He didn't mean that you got to be a super intellectual, but you've got to have the intelligence to know the right way, first, the right thing to do, and the right way to do it. And to know the right time to begin it and the right time to quit it. Practical, good common sense. That's the intelligence we need. And when you don't have it, you're an utter fool. There are people that have genius IQs. There may be academics. Oh, some of the most out of it people I ever met were behind the desk in my university classes. They were stupid in that kind of a sense. But you've got to have this. And you see, if you're interested and you care, you learn. And you learn to do it well, and you want to do it well. A lot of people lie when they say, I did my best. The man of renunciation, that is, he is the one who says, all right, there's all this I'm putting aside. And then what I don't put aside, I'm detached from it. Even spiritual life, I don't make it an obsession. Some people can can become addicted to anything. And that itself is also wrong. The man of renunciation, wise, filled with sattva, not just painted with it, but full of sattva, with doubt eliminated, really understanding. Here's where the idea of swabhava and swadharma comes in, and swakarma. The man of renunciation, wise, filled with sattva, with doubt eliminated. In other words, oh, well, I think I'll just give it a try. Does not dislike disagreeable work, because a lot of things you don't like to do. Who in heaven's name, likes to scrub out the toilet? Nor is he attached to agreeable work, like, oh, yes, I believe really doing that. I'm a karma yogi. No. Truly, embodied beings are not able to give up actions entirely. Otherwise, you wouldn't breathe. That's an action. But he who relinquishes the fruit of action is called a man of renunciation. Anybody can claim to be a renunciate. Anyone can claim to be a monk. The coast of California is owned by a monastic order whose main image, because they don't follow it, is poverty. I'm serious. You'd be amazed. Not millions, and the billions of money, of dollars and whatever other currency is held throughout the world by people who claim to be world renouncing monastics. All that glitters is not gold. That is it. So, only 1.5 minutes over. So then, until the next time, where we'll pick up from here. This is a rather lengthy chapter. It is amazing. It's the great summation, and then comes to what I consider the very, very glorious ending that when we come to it, I'll talk about my experience of it. So, namaste, namaste. Thank you for your attention and patience.